DJ MTV. Sister again, your doctor, your friend, your girl, Anointed Lady TV. Please, if today is your first time of coming across my YouTube channel, please do subscribe for me. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So each time I upload any video, you will be notified. So in this my channel, I will be bringing up many things to you in which you will benefit from it. I do talk show, I do news, anything you want to talk about, I am into it. Please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So each time I upload any video or each time I'm on live on YouTube, you will be notified. Thank you very much for always being there for me. Please do subscribe for me, and as you do so, God will richly bless you and meet your heart desire. Thank you very much. I love you all. DJ MTV.
Country people, now welcome to DJ MTV, the Ogbonge TV station when they always summer on Ogbonge news as it they hot, as it they happen.
DJ MTV. Sister again, your doctor, your friend, your girl, Anointed Lady TV. Please, if today is your first time of coming across my YouTube channel, please do subscribe for me. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So each time I upload any video, you will be notified. So in this my channel, I will be bringing up many things to you in which you will benefit from it. I do talk show, I do news, anything you want to talk about, I am into it. Please subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So each time I upload any video or each time I'm on live on YouTube, you will be notified. Thank you very much for always being there for me. Please do subscribe for me, and as you do so, God will richly bless you and meet your heart desire. Thank you very much. I love you all. DJ MTV.
Country people, now welcome to DJ MTV, the Ogbonge TV station when they always summer on Ogbonge news as it they hot, as it they happen.
DJ MTV.
As that market woman, who is also a stakeholder that sells tomatoes and pepper. So, I've always wished well for my state, and I still do. So, at the beginning, when Godwin Obaseki approached me in 2016, that he wanted to run for the governorship of Edo State, he came in the company of a friend called Pierre Megisi, my house in Ikoyi. And that day, I unveiled to him the relationship between me and the late father, who also happens to be like a father to me, who nurtured me in my youth. I told him the relationship between myself and the father, that as a child, I was his father's friend, and that I had no choice but to support him for his ambition. And after that, he kept coming to my house in Benin with Razak Bello Saidi. And when he came, we respected me. We respected each other. We eat together. And the relationship was very cordial. I was happy that, first of all, somebody from the private sector, like myself, had come into the saddle of the governorship race in Edo State. Apart from the relationship that I had with the father, which was very dear to me. And when it came to a time to support financially, he came to me in Abuja, the same Razak. And I did my little bit to support him. Thank God it's the same candidate today that is also his opponent as we speak. Now, what happened after that? He was elected as the governor in 2016. I was very elated. Very elated. And as we continued, the political class that elected him, they were all coming to me, including the Razak, Bello Saye, that brought him to me. Because I want to start mentioning names now, so that they can be referenced. Complaining about how he was treating them, how he never wanted to see them anymore after being elected. And I kept calming them down. I even quarreled with Razak. I said, Razak, please, leave this man alone. And I kept even talking to the political class and said, look, listen, I know bankers. I know investment bankers. You can't squeeze anything out of their hands. He says, gathering money to develop our state, so be it. And the way I could intervene, I did, to protect him. And I kept going back to him and said, look, my brother, please, manage these people. You have found yourself in a political turf. So please manage them. Because I believe there are so many attributes of leadership. The ability to manage people, the perseverance, the patience. I told him, I said, look, listen, when you now have even more than 10 workers in your establishment, you will have thieves, you will have liars, you will have all kinds of people. The ability for you to manage them, to achieve your desired goals, that is what is important. Because as I was fighting the political class, so the same way I was also advising my brother on how to go about it. Because for me, the state was my concern, development of my state. And it was based on that when I was going to China to go and meet some investors, I mentioned it to him and he was willing to come. I was excited that he was willing to come. I bought his tickets, I bought the tickets of his aides. If he wants to deny that, I have the tickets. I have the agent. I went to China and we met my investors. We spent good time together. I did that. I bought those tickets, paid the hotel bills and all that. Not because I have too much money. But what I wanted to show to my brother was, look, I'm not coming for government posts. I wanted to relax him. That, look, this man wants to help you genuinely. It's not because I want to come for your post. And I meant well. I seriously meant well for him. But to my surprise, the things that started unfolding after, I couldn't believe it. I was always in doubt as, what is this? For instance, when the president was coming to Benin for the Army Day, I reached out to the president. President has seen my products. President has eaten my products from my farm. President loves my product. So I wanted to use the opportunity to invite him to commission my farm. And I also thought that would have been an opportunity also for Godwin, the governor, to also showcase the farm as one of his achievements. Only for me to hear from the grapevine that he never wanted the president to come to my farm. I needed to go back to the president to assure me that he was coming. And he did. And I got a phone call from Godwin. Oh, I learned the president is coming to your farm. But he's not going to come out of his car, out of the car. I was wondering, how will the president come to my farm and not come out of the car for a commissioning of my farm? Whatever I'm saying today, God Almighty knows that I'm saying the truth. He gave me that call. I laughed. Because I knew that the president was coming anyway to commission my farm. Only for the last minute, that visit was cancelled because there was an incident in Maiduguri and the president had to go to Maiduguri. Then I started to think, what is going on here? After that, and most of these things started last year. It is true. It is very true that a few people had approached me that I should come and run against him. Because for me, really, let me be honest with you, I will be the last person to quarrel with any government that is performing, or even have any issues with any government that is performing. Because at the very beginning, when Godwin told me his plans for Edo State, if Godwin presents to you his plans for Edo State on PowerPoint, you will kiss his feet. It's like in the Bible, when the devil said, take all this and bow before me, and Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. And as we progress, all those packages that he had presented, none was on ground. I learned that most of them were all on paper, and they continue to be on paper. With consultancy services attached to most of them. And of course, as we speak, most of those projects are not on ground. And me, I cannot be deceived. People can be deceived, but I can't be deceived. A situation where you have over 600 children packed in a room selling propaganda on social media of projects that are not there. And that is why most of the people, our brothers in Daotura, are sold out. They are sold out because those things are not on ground. I cannot be deceived. Because you see, listen, my brother. You cannot sell propaganda. Because when you start telling lies continuously, it becomes truth in some people's ears. You sell propaganda, you impoverish them, then you now throw corn at them, little corn at them, and you tell them to see white and call it black. I won't allow that. In a society that I grew up in. Now, let me tell you something. I don't live in Benin, but I have always retraced my steps to my home. Because there's a saying that a child that does not remember where he comes from is lost. From time, I've always related back to my home. I'm completely in touch with my environment back home. Because I believe that is where I'm from. And whatever I can do, I will always do to relate with my people. So I knew what was going on. Now, let me continue. A lot of people had actually approached me and said I should come and run for the governorship of the state. And most of the people that did, they will tell you, I said I wasn't interested. One, I have set a trajectory for my life. Over the past 32 years, I've been involved in business. And before that, a very professional pilot, I had also succeeded in that life. And at 63, my mates that ran for governorship did that in 1999. I'm 63 years old. I wasn't ready to start learning new things. You see, and that is one of the reasons why I tried to help Godwin, because in his old age, because he couldn't learn new things, that's why he fell a victim. He couldn't learn new things because he found himself in politics, which he is not. And he would have sought for God's wisdom to be able to manage the position he has found himself. So many people were ready to talk to him, and I was there. I was one of the people trying to mediate in this whole matter. I never wanted him to fight anybody, not to talk about fighting me. Now, when he started fighting the political class and all that, I told him, I said, look, Gio, what's in my house? I said, please, if you keep fighting these guys, they have a boss who is Comrade Adams Oshomole. And very soon, you and Adams will quarrel. He said, no, say God forbid. For him and Adams to quarrel, he will resign being a governor. That's okay. And truly, Adams now became the chairman of APC. And being the chairman of APC, the people on ground who he was fighting, the political class, now found solace in Abuja. And they all started coming to Abuja to see what Comrade, who is their leader, could do for them. I was watching. And Comrade now also started trying to help some of them by his position. And the quarrel started. Why is Comrade helping people that he is fighting with in the state? Then he came to their primaries and the full-blown quarrel started. I went to him. I tried settling that. I said, Comrade, tell me. I said, Gio, my brother, tell me. Your position today, and Comrade being the chairman of APC in Abuja, I don't think there is anything both of you will sit in front of the president to ask for our state that we will not get. please, this quarrel should never happen. Let's put it in void. Close it out for the sake of everybody, including myself. I was in his house for 3 hours. I knelt down, begging him that please, for the sake of this state, I don't want this animosity. Please, whatever it is, close it out. And he said, that night I left. And the next morning, that same night, when I got home, I got a call from a common friend in Lagos who told me that, God will say you should stay out of this matter. Otherwise, you might be a collateral damage. I said, collateral damage? He said, I said, okay. Should I ask him? He said, ask him. Next morning, I called him. I said, Ogenebo, because that's what I called him, Ogenebo, like a pet name. Ogenebo, this is what this guy told me. He said, yes, this thing is fight to finish. You better stay away, otherwise, so that you don't be caught up at the middle. I said, okay, thank you.
So it was the day after you saw him?
Yeah, the night, very next day. That same night, when I go home, I got a call. And I said, well, but I won't relent. I reached out to more powerful people than myself and pleaded with them to please intervene. That we don't want to have a state where you don't have elders. And of course, our state now became a state where we don't have elders, because that particular dispute was never resolved up to today. Now, let's talk about myself. The very day, if this day editor is here, the very Sunday, there was a particular Sunday where it was published in your front page. And I know that front page in newspapers are very serious positions. It was written, NPA cancels SA, putting a bogus figure that we were earning, that we were operating illegally, and that the person behind this company, OMSL, they mentioned my name and also twisted it that I was interested in the governorship of Edo State. That particular write-up was a big embarrassment to me, though. And coincidentally, that same day, Jimovia was hosting Emefiele at the Civic Center for his return as governor of CBN. I was there. I was there at the venue. Some common friends of mine, some friends of mine at that venue, when I was inside, they have started questioning me. Captain, are you interested in governors? I was just laughing. I tell them, no, I'm not. So as I was leaving, thank God, Godwin was coming outside. What did he do? He pointed at me, he embarrassed me in front of everybody. Incoming governor. I held him. That's the photograph you can see when you see me cuddle him. I cuddled him. And I said, my brother, are you one of them? I started laughing. I said, no. Put your mind down. And in order to also disabuse the mind of people that were inside, that were already interrogating me about this, I took him back inside the venue, held him close to myself, and went to his seat and grabbed him from the back, and they took our photograph. That photograph you people still see. Just to disabuse everybody's mind that I was at peace with my brother. And I left. As that incident grew, the SA saga grew, everywhere I went, they told me, this is political. This is political. Your problem is political. Your problem is political. My problem is political. And somebody actually told me that he was behind. I didn't quarrel. There was an evening, I went to his house. In the evening, outside his house, among some common friends. I will mention the names of those common friends that were there. But because of the respect that I have for who he made that telephone call to, I will not mention his name. He took his phone, I went there, we were outside. I said, Gio, they have told me that you are the one behind my saga in NPO. He said, no, I'm not the one. What did he do? He carried his phone, pressed the buttons, dialed somebody very important, and who I also respect very much, in Lagos. It's fine. I said, why is Hadiza harassing my brother now? On speaker. The guy replied, Godwin, you said that man is troubling you in those states now. Hadiza is fighting your battle for you now. Are you not the one who sent her? Or have you changed your mind? He quickly put up the phone. I wasn't upset. And I told him, I said, Godwin, I've caught you. You are the one behind this. You are going to repair it for me. To the hearing of our common friends, and I will mention names now, but I will not mention who he called. Aslemon Joshua was there. Barrister Austin Alege was there, the former NBA chairman. He was there. My friend Peter Okundaye was there. Chief Oseli Enamam was there. And a few other people. If you know any of these people, you can call them to confirm this particular phone call. I don't lie. I now promise, okay, on Tuesday we'll see me in Abuja. But I never saw him. And after that, again, I was called in an NNPC that the report was going to be written by the chairman of the ad hoc committee on pipeline vandalization and oil theft. We know the value you give to us. We can no longer defend you. You have to go and defend yourself. You need to go and present to the committee, because when approvals come from the very highest top against you, we have no reason not to implement it, but we know the values you give to us. The only thing I can do for you is go and defend yourself. And I thank the management. The night before that presentation, I prepared for the presentation. The night before that presentation, I went to my brother. I said, I didn't know that you are the one who is the chairman of this committee. He said, yes, he's the chairman. You just come, present, no problem. I said, okay. The next day, I went for the presentation at the Governor's Forum office. The majors were there. Shell was there. NNPC and the management was there. Atio was there. Different people, all the different The industry was complete. I went with Chief Ayiri Emami. I went with him so that he could talk on the community side, how I was managing the community. Because he's an outsider. He doesn't work for me, but his area falls within where I work. So he'll be able to say things that I do, whether rightly or wrongly. And that day, to the admiration of everybody that was there, I presented flawlessly. And what was the only question the governor will ask me is, oh, how are you paid? What's your contract like? I said, Your Excellency, NNPC has my full dossier. They have the payment terms. Legal have my contract.
So who asked that question specifically?
The governor asked me. This is Chairman. He asked me that question. That's only for me to read in the papers. Days after, my brother, there's a huge network of pipelines in this country. Huge network of pipelines. And in these pipelines, I was only handling 4. The Escravo to Warri, Bonny to Port Harcourt, the OMF 40 pipeline, and the Trans-Forcados pipeline. 4 out of several. You have the NCTL, operated by RTO. You have the Trans-Niger line. You have different lines belonging to IG. You have different lines where losses have been recorded. And it was obvious that all the lines that we were taking care of, my company, we had definitely performed above expectation, and there were no losses. And I actually have performance, my contract is performance related. I work for NNPC, I don't work for Amnesty. NNPC is a structured place where contracts are properly done. You see, when people talk about NNPC, it's like a relay. Your performance will impact on the next person. The next person's performance will impact on the next person. Will impact on the next person before the oil finally gets sold. So if you are not doing your part, connections cannot give you a contract or make you continue working in NNPC. I can tell you that for free. Now, my 4 lines that I was taking care of was the best. And I still proud myself. I've been the best at what I do. When the report came out, my brother now wrote the report like I was the one carrying the whole pipeline in Nigeria, that despite what I was doing, all the losses, it was only my name now put there. I said, God, what do you mean this? I said, okay, no problem. I was not upset. Because you see, let me tell you, my brother, I'm a businessman. And the principle of every businessman, or any normal human being, there are 3 things you must not fight. 3 things you must not fight. God, government, and gun. God is invisible, omnipotent. When God is dealing with you, forget it. I don't even want to talk about that. Government is next. When government is dealing with you, you will not pinpoint a hand at one person that is dealing with you. But there's nowhere government will hold you that it will not be painful. And gun is something that they will point at your head. That is the only thing they will point at your head. and you are ready to surrender everything you've ever worked for in your life. So those three things, I'm very conscious of it. That was why I was very patient. I wanted to fight Godwin. And let me tell you something. I am still not fighting Godwin. I am continuously defending myself. I will get there. Now, that passed. And write-up started. He started using this. Of course, I said before that there are some young men here gathered in a room, over 600 of them. I have blogs. They are on the internet, abusing their fathers, selling his propagandas, and they started attacking me. I finally wrote, I said, Captain Hosa speaks. Leave me alone out of the politics. It was well published. It was well circulated. And my brother calls me, Captain, like an emperor. You have come out now to say you are not, this is what I've been expecting from you. You have come out finally to say you are not contesting. I said, my brother, Your Excellency, I'm not contesting. I've told you that. He said, very good. Like a classroom teacher. My son that works in his government, I call him my son, Osaze Ozamere, also called me. I said, Daddy, thank you for coming out. I've been defending you and saying that you are not doing this thing. Igbinidu, the head of the staff, called me. Several people called me, thanking me for coming out. So I said, so this matter is serious like this. And when the attack continued, I called him. I said, my brother, please, you two write and say, Captain Osa is my brother. He is not a politician. Leave him alone. I wanted him to write. And that one put a stop to everything. What did he tell me? You know, I have so many support base, both home and abroad. I don't know who's attacking you, blah, 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 excuses, because he never wanted to write. I said, okay now. Number one, I felt he had attacked my business physically, and he did not succeed. Coming from the private sector, he knows that the only thing he can do to me is to damage my integrity and damage my compliance by writing all these things. Because as a businessman, I'm not a politician. A politician normally you will throw stones at. So, no, people know he's a politician, he won't care, he won't reply. But as a businessman, when people throw stones at you, a day is coming in your compliance where they will ask you, when you were accused of this, how did you respond? So as they kept attacking me, I kept responding. As they kept attacking me, I said, oh, this man now wants to destroy my business, not physically anymore, but through compliance. Then I started preparing for my defense. And that is why at a point, you saw I threw everything out into the papers. You saw me in the papers almost every day. This is who I am. I now started exposing myself. I've done business for over 3 decades. Not that kind of person. Friends called me, say, Captain, what is going on? We are reading about you every day in the paper. I said, well, some people want to see my hands. where I get small shit, but I want to show them my intestine where they bring the shit. I'm sorry for my language. You know, so I had to. He now exposed me. My brother now exposed me. And every day I kept. Then I now wrote a letter, an open letter, when the attack was too much. One of the boys that wrote the Lebelos article against me, I had arrested him. I brought him to Abuja here. He was going to be charged to court, paraded, a young man. But the lawyer came to me begging, and I told them the conditions. Let him go and retract, let him apologize. Because I have so many children, both my biological children and children I look after. I'm a role model. So many children. I mentor them. I wasn't ready to destroy a young child who's supposed to have been engaged positively, but set up in a room to be abusing his fathers for peanuts. And when the lawyer brought him to my office, by the time I finished speaking to him, the guy broke down. He was crying. He said he never knew this is the kind of person I am. I told him, I said, look, you are my son. From today you become my son. I gave him even the money for his ticket because he had been abandoned. Nobody paid for his bill, even though it was an essay to him. I gave him money for his ticket to go back to Benin. His name is Zibiri. And he still calls me a father today. I have never one day, up to this moment, asked him, go and be a spy to me. Or what is happening in your camp. I've left him to be. I've helped him in his own little way, in my own little way. You ask him, if you see him, ask him. It was obvious that the attacks were coming from me, from the government circle. Apparently, what I believe is that my brother Godwin actually thought that I was going to run against him. So they have set up a war room against Captain Osa. But when he now found out that I wasn't running, he still needed to deploy it. So, I wrote an open letter to the president and Edo people. And I cataloged all my actions to everybody. Everything I said there is the truth and nothing but the truth before my God. Why will I say that? I wanted people to ask him, what have I done to deserve this? At least, even the tomato seller, or the common trader, or even the beggar on the street has the right to choose to be who he wants to be or who he wants to support in politics. It's a right. Up to this moment, the same man that came to me in 2016 begging me for support has not sat down with me to even tell me that I'm interested in the second term. For us to even discuss this, or come to me and say, my brother, I hope I know that they are wooing you for second term. You are going to, no discussion. I wrote this letter. And I kept telling him, instead of him to have read that letter and come to terms and say, has it reached this stage? And also find a way of brokering peace. Because I'm a man of peace. What did he do? On the same day, another libel that I was gathering people, buying guns. I want to come and disrupt the 2019 election. From Crusoe. Government letterhead. There's no way my business partners will take that lightly. Straight! I insulted my lawyers. And we're in court. And the whole team escalated. And also, when my people, friends, people now realize that, and I now categorize everything that I've done, that is, please ask me. Now became obvious to most people that this guy was after me. And then his government started crumbling. People started resigning. And that was what I told him. I sent a message to him. I said, Godwin, all these billions, the billionaire, I said, no. I don't have money. I don't have money. What I have is more than money, which is goodwill. Goodwill is more than money. I've never had values for money. I was brought up from a very humble background. My father was an educationist, and my mother, a teacher. We are not brought up knowing money. We're not rich. But my father gave us good values. And he was a man of truth. As a young man, I watched my father settle disputes in our home. If you want to hear the truth, say go to Ari Okumbo's house. He was a man of truth. And children were brought to our house. Rich men's children were brought to my house for correction, to our house for correction. And my father would treat all of us as one. You don't even know who is the other. No. He was a man of truth. And in that truth, the light in me has come out. So, my values has never been money oriented at all. And in that same vein, throughout my life, even though I never went to school in Benin, I never stayed in Benin, but I have always related back to my roots. Always related back to my roots. And in my own little way, I have also blessed my people. Whatever God has blessed me with, unmerited favor from God, because I believe that a man is not blessed just because of yourself. You are blessed because of your family and your environment. You must share it. Share your blessings. It's not for you to keep. I sent a word to him. I said, look, I built very strong goodwill in this environment. When you are in Lagos, we brought you from Lagos. The money you are talking about, I don't have. Because I can never compete with any government when you talk about resources. But I have goodwill. So, like you said, so where are we now? You see, I still consider Godwin my brother. I still consider him my brother. But I don't consider him a leader. Because he does not have the attributes of leadership. place, Edo State. It's a collective responsibility. It's a place where we all must support. I have no other place to go to. I have no other place I can call my foundation apart from that place. It's more important to me than any other place. He lacks the leadership, and he also lacks the temperament, the patience to be able to rule over a people. He's deceitful. I can say that. It's only unfortunate that Osage Ezeyabon, who he also contested with in 2016, is out there. I'm supporting him out of default. And of course, what can I say? I want a better Edo State. That's all I can say. I don't have any money to fight him. I don't have any, I'm not fighting. Like you said, I will never fight government. But I will defend myself against any aggression. Against what I eat, my daily food, and also defend anything that will destroy me. So that's where we are at.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. So you can take the questions and then you can answer. Who? I mean, it's okay. You've taken us through a journey, and every day we hear reports, as if you will be on the ballot. I don't know, you and Sean, I don't know if you are contesting really, but for what you have said, you are now supporting UDC. The PDP feels if there is no manipulation, that the incumbent government will win the election. As a stakeholder, do you see anything stopping the governor from being elected? Is the APC actually on ground? Because this most of the guys have moved to PDP. That what is left of APC is just carcass. So, and you said you don't have the resources to fight the government. So they have enough resources. What is really at stake? Is it a go war that we witness on September 18th or 19th, or the interest of Edo people? And secondly, are you not worried about the issue of violence? Let's
take it one after the other. I'm not used to this your interaction, and I'm not taking notes. So let's take it one after the other. Maybe what you say, the way I will answer, may actually cover what you are saying. Well, we've had elections in Edo State. This is not the first time they're having elections in Edo State. What I can tell you, it's not been this bad. It's not been this bad because the whole country is shaking because of one state. We've had several elections in Ogun State. My being dragged into this whole thing, I had already enumerated earlier. It's unfortunate that the governor, because in his mind, he thought I was going to run, I have also become an imaginary candidate. Comrade Oshomole, who initially brought him as governor, and the thought, is also an imaginary candidate. So, you are either hearing that Godwin, Captain Osa, Godwin, Oshomole, Godwin, the real candidate, who is Osagie Izeyamu. So he has given himself 3 candidates to contest against. Both just one, being real, and the other 2, imaginary. For me, you see, let me tell you something. Indira Gandhi was not a rich man, but he changed India. Martin Luther King was never rich. He changed the fate of black people in America. Husband Danfodio was not a rich man. And if you mention who was the richest man, then you will not get me. Ahmadu Bello, he died without a house. Tafawa Balewa, same. Up to our president, our president right now, Muhammadu Buhari, when he became president of this country, he had nothing. Nothing. But people believed in him and voted him to power for a change. So what I expect from our people is that they should look and see within their environment, see what has happened in the last 4 years. See how our state has been managed. See the personality of the governor that has ruled them. See the violence and the quarrels and the fights that have happened in our state. Has it gone well? Let every man search their conscience. Like I said, it's not about money. If my people believe that this election is about money, well, let their conscience be sold. But me, Captain Osa, I would have played my part. They say, play your part. I would have played my part. Because if they're happy with what they see, if they're happy the way they've been treated in the past 4 years and they think somebody will come and induce them to sell their conscience on election day and carry the ballots, and they want to continue in that suffering, so be it. Then I will know that I've played my part. I don't live in belief. I will definitely excuse myself for the next 4 years from that town. But it's what they have chosen. I'll stay away. But I believe that this election is not about money. It's about the truth. And if our people believe in the truth, they know what to do. If the truth is to reign, and there's an election to be held today, I believe APC will win landslide I'm talking about Pastor Isaiah. But if you want to talk about propaganda, spending money, violence, forcing people to win, yeah, God is equivalent. He has the power, he has the knife. He wants to force his way there. And the people allow him. And they actually get induced, and he pays them. But I don't have money. Neither does the candidate have money to buy voters, to buy conscience. So if he wins, then I know. Well, that's the will. But I know that, and I'm sure that good, evil can never surpass good. And those people that truly love our state and know that they should live a future for our children, they should know what to do. They should know who to vote for, irrespective of any political inclination. Whether you are PDP or you are APC, what is important is moving our state forward. Who at this time can move our state forward? I don't believe he can. Like I said earlier, he doesn't have the quality of leadership. His government is a government of deceit. I will say it 100 times if you ask me. That's the position. When it comes to violence, are we still on? Yes. When it comes to violence, it's unfortunate that our state, even when bombing now became a thing of the past in the Niger Delta, they started bombing houses of people that we thought were against it. Bomb. When I say hearing bomb in Benin, I say, what? People were being attacked. A governor that could not manage 24 members, 24 elected members of his own party in a state house of assembly. Hey, come on. They were not in opposition. 24 APC were. And some of us worked towards that for him, to support him so that he doesn't have any opposition. All he kept screaming from the very beginning that he won't swear them because they want to impeach him. Hey, come on. Will you be talking about a conviction of a crime that you did not commit? Why will you be screaming about being impeached? They want to impeach me. What do you do for you to be impeached? And that's what confirms my earlier statement when I said that his government is government of deceit. When I mean deceit, I mean deceit. Because he has sold his sense to everybody the propaganda that is not there. His conscience was laden, heavily laden with guilt. And that was why he was afraid of impeachment. Why are you afraid? People that have not even been sworn in, you are already accusing them of impeaching you. And you now rule a state with about 7 House of Assembly. As I speak to you, I have no representative in the House of Assembly. Even the president, Muhammadu Buhari, had to reach out to the party, to the National Assembly, so that he can have a friendly assembly to move this country forward. And we also witness the last assembly, National Assembly. The president did not start planting bombs in their houses. The president did not bring out the gun, even with him having the whole apparatus of state against Saraki. Hey, what is this? Kill them, kill them. Pepper them, pepper them. Everybody that is not that is, come on. So if they want to continue to be peppered, let them vote in. That's my. I don't think what you are saying is true. You can see Godwin's photographs and posters all over the place, propaganda. He is not on ground. There's going to be a free and fair election today. I'm sure the people will vote him out. So that's all I can say to that your question. Any more?
Thank you. I think, okay.
So what is at stake? Is it interest and ego? That's the second question.
Yes.
Hold on, sir.
What you asked, you said, what is at stake? Is it interest or ego? If it's for me, I'm very humble. There is nothing, I am telling you, there is nothing I cannot sacrifice for the betterment of my state. I don't even have any ego. When we talk about ego. What is at stake? It's the future of our children. The liberation of our state from someone who thinks he's an emperor in this modern day. That's what's at stake. Nothing good. There's nothing I will not sacrifice. That state was running well. Everything he said he was going to do in the last 4 years, he did. And the people are happy with him. His constituency, they are happy with him. I swear on my life, if God spits on my face, I will clean it with a towel. I will say for the sake of my people. But you can't, not having performed, not having done the right thing. You are now dealing with people and tearing everybody down. You expect me to take that shit on my face and clean with it all and join me amongst the oppressed by your government. All I need to do is defend myself. So what is at stake is the betterment of our state. That's what's at stake. Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A soft question. Your farm, that you wanted to the president to commission. And I just want to find out what is the state of the farm, especially as we hear the rate of a lot of great strides. Yeah. Thank you. Great strides on agri, by this government. So, what is the state of your farm? If your farm is doing well, you should make that.
Yes. My brother, thank you very much. That's not the only farm I have. I have the biggest greenhouse farm in Nigeria today. 27 hectares of greenhouses. I have done more than half of that in my farm. And I intended to complete that. In fact, our father, the Oba of Benin, had also dashed me, giving me a land where I was supposed to expand. He gave it to me free of charge. When he was very impressed with what I was doing. And he said, okay, go and survey that place and give it to my son. That farm today is employing youths. Anytime I go there, I see them working. More than anything, the pleasure I get from seeing workers gladdens me. I have another 9,000 hectares in Ovia Northeast. where I was going to bring my investors to develop. I have the master plan, I have everything. So it's not only that greenhouse we are talking about. I've been working on this project. But when I started noticing early enough Godwin's attitude and wickedness, I was afraid. If you don't fear government, now you know. I was afraid because in Edo State, his policies can crumble my investment 1 minute. And I said that he was an unfriendly friend. You know what an unfriendly friend is? And some of us are very wise. If I'm not wise, I won't get to where I am today. God has given me wisdom to know a friendly environment to invest, and a friendly environment not to invest. Because if I had thrown all my eggs there, if you hold me for corner, today I would have been singing his song against my will. So I will wait for a friendly government to come for me to continue with my investment aspirations in Edo State. Thank you.
Sir, when Governor Obaseki wanted to contest, you met with him, you sat down with him. Have you sat down with Pastor Isaiah?
You mean in 2016?
Have you sat down with Isaiah now? This time around?
Of course.
Okay. You believe in his agenda?
Of course.
Are you banking him?
You have started the Fanika Well, that's a good question. I have sat down with Isaiah man has met with me. He has also showed me the vision he has for the state. And coincidentally, he also has a vision of farming. Because I believe he's a farmer. First of all, he's a farmer. And I believe that the only thing today that has not been exploited in this country to the benefit of Nigeria and our children is farming. We have arable lands everywhere. Farming can take away a lot of our children from the streets. And it's one of the agenda that he's very passionate about. And initially, the same thing, God said was going to farm. But where is the farm? Today, where is the farm? I've sat down with Pastor, who I believe is a man of God. And he has shown me his agenda and future. What caught my fancy there, apart from every other thing that he said, is farming. To farm. But farming, through farming, the people will be able to feed themselves. The people will also be empowered, and our youth will also be engaged. He has a passion for that. The same passion I have. If you talk about supporting him, of course you know that pastor is a pastor. Wait now. Pastor is a pastor. And The last time he worked was SSG. Isn't it? For a man like that to be facing a monster of state government, some of us will have to come out to support him. If I believe in him, of course. But let me tell you something. I will support him with my hard-earned sweat, not stolen money. My hard-earned sweat. And people that know me know that when I believe in something, I can spend my last kobo to achieve it. When I believe in something, I can spend my last kobo to achieve it. Not stolen money I have worked for. Now, it's lucky to have somebody like me, because when God wants to work, God will bring all together to support you. I happen to be on the side today. And one other question that you may ask, it's okay, you are supporting him now, financially. How do you intend to recoup back your money, isn't it? That's the next question. Yeah. People have asked me this question. And what have I told them? Red Cross. Red Cross. What do I mean by Red Cross? Charity. If today I give or I support Osagie Ezearu financially to liberate my state, and tomorrow I'm now expecting for a state that they have ridiculed with debts. They borrowed money. Our state is in a state of almost, I don't know. People should go and find out the records about their state. Our state is in debt. Our children have been mortgaged. And you say that I will not. I will spend my last kobo. At this age, look, let me tell you something. I'm 63 years old and I've worked all my life. And if I tell you that I don't have any money kept away that I can use in the day of danger, then I've failed. Danger! Danger against me and the state. So I guess a beneficiary. Yes, Red Cross. If I dare, Osagie wins and becomes governor, I dare go to him and say, oh boy, how about this money I spend? That's the first fight. And no politicians. That's where my fight will start. So I'm very, very conscious. So let me tell you something. At this age, what do I want? Tell me. Tell me, what do I want? God has been so good to me. I have been blessed beyond my expectation. My blessings are unmerited. In my 63 years, God has made me realize most of my ambitions. And at this age, what is my ambition? Ask me. I will tell you. Very simple. My ambition is to be able to go back home to my people with whatever God has blessed me with outside the state, unmerited favor of God upon me. Share it with my people. If possible, partner with government to create employment through agriculture, where I'm respected as an elder statesman. And also that blessing, I believe, is also to uphold and protect the integrity of my kingdom that has lived for centuries. Go back home, retire back home, where I can once more relish in that roasted yam and palm oil that my grandmother brought me up with in my childhood. Share with my common friends back home. And in the evening, I tie my wrapper and I go to the palace to make my king laugh. That's my ambition. Nothing else. That is my ambition. Money? No, not anymore. Because I tell you, my brother, I've grown past giving values to money. Money is an instrument. Money will continuously be an instrument to man. If I look at myself today, and anytime I'm at the airport, sometimes I run into my colleagues who will train together in Zaria. And I go back home and I put my knees down and say, God, I thank you. What do I want God to do for me today that He has not done? Unless I'm a greedy fool. I'm 63. Where I'm going is nearer than where I'm coming from. And that's why I will not fear to say the truth. I'm a grandfather. I have 4 grandchildren. And that's why I will never do anything for them to laugh at them or to bring shame to my children. So, if you say I'm backrolling, so be it. No from any government coffers or anything. But one thing I can tell you though, for free, is that I can never compete with state resources. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. I salute your commitment to your states. I also want to salute your courage. Because it's not everybody that will come out to say some of the things that you have said, and which I believe you will still say. However, a former president of the US said something that is very germane in this matter. He said politicians do not believe in what they say. And they are usually surprised when they see others believing them.
When they see?
When they see others, when they see the people they talk to. He said politicians do not believe in what they themselves say.
Yeah.
And then they are usually surprised when they see others believe in what they have said. In 2016, you believed.
Sorry. Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. I said in 2016, you believed. Because you admitted that you admitted that when someone then made a PowerPoint presentation, at the end of the day somebody may even leak his news. I also suspect that somebody has found out your source spot. I suspect, though I'm not saying fact, that somebody has found out your source spot, especially in the area of agric, and has also sold you. No, I didn't see that. It's simple agenda. Simple agenda.
Yes.
That's a. I am asking a very simple question.
Yes.
mixed with observation. That or between the two,
Yes.
which one is the better devil?
Thank you.
Because I believe that most of the time, what our people say, they say it because of the exigency of the time, because of the now, yes, because of what they want to gain. And then you now see the fact that, okay, this one will be better than this one, only to discover that Willie, at the end of the day, is better than this. Forget about the name.
Okay.
So I don't think I need to talk much.
Yes.
I think you get you are wise man.
I very much understand. Number one, in 2016, even though I had a relationship with Godwin's father, Godwin was a stranger to me. Total stranger. Even though we live in Lagos, we just see ourselves and say hello. His junior brother, Gilbert, his father actually gave Gilbert to me to work for me. So I know the other siblings. Eki, who is the senior sister, is also married to Uncle Noel. I'm sure you know Noel already. When people say Godfather, Godfather, it's my godfather. Oh. Godfather is a good thing. You know? So, I never knew him, but I believed him. That's where the difference is. Osage is I'm known for over 30 years. I was over 30 years. I know his character before. I know his character when he repented. I know his character when he became a born-again Christian. And in fact, let me tell you something. Osage is a testimony of how God can actually turn around somebody. I didn't say it was bad. But since I've known Osage as a Christian, I have always seen a very genuine man, a man of God. And I don't see any reason why people like that, we need good people to come into our politics. Whether they have money or not. I've known Osage for a while. Osage owns a farm. That's the only business he has. He has a farm where he was also training farmers. I've been there. I've seen him farm. Just like I'm a farmer. So it's not anybody him coming to tell me that he's a farmer. I've witnessed him being a farmer. So I have no cause not to believe him that he has the same dream and aspiration as myself for the state. But only through farming, really. It's not roads and all those things. Once we are able to take people out of poverty, then they will gladly be able to use the infrastructure. You don't build roads that people will be, tarred roads, beautiful roads that people will be trekking on. They need cars right on those roads. And I believe in agriculture. I think he also has an issue. Now, let me tell you. Look, a lot of politicians will always tell you what they can do. It's normal. But you see, some of us that continuously support these people, if you support a politician because of what you will get from him when he gets to office, you are deceiving yourself. Support a politician because of what you believe. If he comes to sell a story to you, if your conscience says you believe him, believe him. But when he now goes back, deceiving you and the people, it's left to him and God. And that's why you hardly see me quarrel. Because I've done my part. I support you because if you lie to me, and you now go and do another thing, your conscience is left to God. I can only be disappointed if I'm relying on you to come to pay me back. I'm not relying on any politician to be able to pay me back anything, because the only person that pays me back, whatever I do, is God Almighty. Only God pays me back. No man can pay me back. And if I tell you my story, you know that it's actually only God that pays me back. Not man. I don't rely on any man. I believe that Osagie, with a simple agenda, which he has sold through the states, people should believe him and give him a chance to turn around our states. So that's my answer to that question. Thank you very much.
Okay. One last question. I wouldn't. Last question. Okay. I have two simple ones. You don't have to write them down. One. You told us your age, 63.
Yes.
Your business has traverses hospitality, pipeline production, huge farming, and all sorts. Tell us, when you also told us that when you see your colleagues at the airport, you go home and thank God.
Yes.
When did you strike gold in your life that sprang you to where you are now? That's one. Then number two, it's commonly known that you're not into foundations. Why is that?
Okay. You see, my beginning, like I said to you, has been very humble. As a captain, I was a captain in 1983 in Intercontinental Airlines, General Aviation. As at that time, if you find, I was the highest paid captain in this country, highest paid pilot in Nigeria. Because in Intercontinental Airlines, that's the General Aviation, the captains, Intercontinental, most of them were expatriates. I was the first Nigerian captain. Victor Vani of blessed memory, very great man, said, put this hard-working young man in the same category of an expatriate. So I earned the same salary as the expatriates. And not only that, we're paid by the hour. We have allowances by the hour. So every hour I was paid apart from my salary. At that time, I was the highest paid pilot. I got married. I got married to a businesswoman who was at that time has traded with National Supply. She was a distributor of flour mills, distributors with most of the breweries. That was what kindled my interest in business. I found a company called Hosting Ventures. That's out there. Registered in NAFO. No NAFO. Port Harcourt. Oil companies. as a buyer. I can tell you that the first procurement I did when that is in Warri Refinery, far back in the 80s. And the profit was more than my 1 year's salary. That was when I realized that this life was not in the air. It was actually on ground. And that was when I started business. Because in everything I do, I put everything in it. And in actual fact, I left flying in 1988. I'm acquired so many hours, about 7,000 hours as a pilot. And I had it behind my mind. I said, look, if the worst comes to worst, I'm a captain, I have my hours, I can still come back. So I was at my worst point in life. Captain, the captain any day. My license was there, except it's health reasons. I can always come back. To fly if I feel. So I said, John. And the rest today is history. Over 32 years. But one thing I'll tell you is that in all these years of my business, I've always had one thing behind my mind. When you are talking about business, you are either buying or selling for profit. And number two, you are either rendering service for profit. Those are the two definitions of business. And anything that will deviate me from this description, I made up my mind that I will never fall into that category. Because if you bring a business to me, I will ask you, can we justify this profit? Where I cannot justify profit in a service, I don't do it. I don't go after free money. I don't go after fraudulent money. That's why for 30 years, my name has remained intact by the grace of God. And people that are close to me know one prayer that I always pray. My workers know, close friends, my prayers have always been, God, Almighty God, any money that will bring shame unto my family and my children, that will embarrass my children in school, that will embarrass me, that will bring shame unto my family, that God should not bring such money near me. And God has always answered that prayer. I've never fallen into any temptation of fraudulent activities. And that's why I can proudly tell you today, in a country like this, where I've gotten to the level I've gotten to, from my humble beginning to now, without any say, hey, somebody you can say you fronted for. I've never fronted for any politician. I've never fronted for anybody in my entire life. I've tried as much as possible to work hard for every dime that I've earned. And I can proudly tell you, neither the police, even before the advent of EFCC, has ever invited me to come and explain any fraudulent activities. And even after the setting up of EFCC, I can also proudly tell you that I've never gone to EFCC to also write statements about any fraudulent activity, because I believe in carrying my businesses above board. That's what I imbibe in my workers. That's what I imbibe in people that are close to me. So that has been my guide all through these years, and God will continue to help me. So that's it.
Foundation.
Now, why do I not have a foundation? You see, this topic has always come. This topic. My children have always asked me, Daddy, look, you are spending so much money on people. Why don't you have a foundation? My staff, my accountant, why don't you have a foundation? Because my brother, I can tell you for free that 70% of what I earn in life goes out. 70% of what I earn in my life goes out to other people. You pay tithes, 10%. I think I can tell you that about 70% of what I earn goes out. Now, why don't I have a foundation? I have a name, and my name is Idahosa. In true terms, is Idamehosa. I am listening to God. That's my name. And in everything I do, all my steps, I listen to God. I lead my name. And God instructed me that I should not set up a foundation. Because in His words, He said, do for me in secret, and I will bless you openly. Foundation, before I award 50 scholarships on the TV, before I go to the orphanage, it's on the TV. Captain Osa Foundation, this Captain Osa Foundation. Maybe my children might want to do that. And when I'm instructed, maybe I will. So I believe in doing good, not by announcing. I have children that are in school. If you come to me with a problem, unless I can keep my last cover in my pocket. And I'm not afraid of tomorrow. But God told me clearly, you are my son, and you will never lack. Clearly, a lot of people that are close to me will know I'm a covenant child. I'm a covenant child. For 32 years I've been in business. I have never lacked. I have never looked for money to pay my children's school fees, or look for money to feed my children. I have remained a constant. I've been a constant of better lifestyle. Constant. I don't beg. There are some simple principles of God that guides me. I'm not very religious, but I fear God. I fear God very much. So I can't set up a foundation. You see, that's what I was telling. Maybe if I had set up a foundation in Edo State, my brother Godwin would have found my relevance and say, this one, we get this kind of foundation. They cannot look for the trouble. Because my foundation was hidden. The goodwill was hidden. It was not. It's not noise. I don't make noise about whatever I do for anybody. It's only unfortunate that this particular period, He has dragged me out from my comfort zone into the market square. It's not me to talk to press. It's not me to go on TV. It's not me to. No. If you are truly helping people, you don't make noise about it. Do for me in secret, and I will reward you openly. So that's my principle. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My name is Sanjay. Please, I'm the editor I'll be very trust Mr. May God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, my simple question is, of course, there is a cloud of fear in Edo, fear of violence. Will you vouch for your candidate, especially going by the fact that the two of them, they took a vow before the Oba of Benin for a violence-free election? Will you vouch for your candidate?
Well, let me first of all tell you that I'm a man of peace, and it has been demonstrated severally by me. Today, the relative calm that you see in the Niger Delta and peace have contributed my little part. I have been able to employ so many resident youths in the past. Today, they are gainfully employed under my establishment, my pipeline surveillance job. We engage them. They can tell you today, this is what they earn monthly. So I've been able to turn them from their negativity to positivity. As I speak to you, I have over 2,000 to 3,000 youths in the Niger Delta that I'm partnering with. My job. And so many of them have been calling me, okay, this election, they want to rubbish you, will come here. I said, hey, stop. Because I can't see myself having spent time and energy to turn my children positively into a new direction. I will not say I want to use them for election. God forbid. My youths in the Niger Delta, the children that I'm looking after in the Niger Delta, if they come into Benin, they will overrun Benin, my brother. But God forbid, I abhor violence. I hate violence. So, this issue of violence, I think it's the other camp we should talk to. Not Zeyamu. Zeyamu is a pastor. And me, I've had programs running in Edo State, on TV, even radio, telling them that there should be violence for election. I even referred them to a quote from my brother and friend, Goodluck Jonathan, who said that no ambition of any human being is worth shedding blood of one particular citizen. I believe in that saying, hook, line, and center. I'm praying for a free and fair and violence-free election in Edo State, where everybody will be able to exercise their rights. That's what I'm praying for. I can never, and I swear I can never be part of any violence. I don't wish for violence. And in my subtle prayers, my prayers daily, I pray for violence-free election. And that's what we should all pray for. And that's what the Oba Akokwe, they also expressed. We have all been shocked about the state of what has been happening in Edo State. It has never been this bad. So, if there is violence in the state, you can only hold the head responsible because there's a head. We have a head. We have a government in place. We have a governor in place who's supposed to be the chief security officer. Like he said, if you are truly the chief security officer of the state, and our governor, which you are, as I'm speaking, you should make the place peaceful. So if it's not peaceful during election, then you, as the chief security officer of the station, you are responsible. Not me. I'm just an ordinary citizen. One of the subjects. The subject. Basically, by his position as a governor of Edo State today, I respect constituted authority. If I see him, I will respect him as a governor. I met his wife at the villa yesterday, during the president's daughter's wedding. I went and I said, "Good evening, ma'am. I want to greet her, even though she like, but I've done my part. I respected her as my first lady of my state. So that's it. It's his responsibility to make the state violence free. Not his area or myself. I'm violent. I don't abhor violence. Thank you. I abhor
DJ MTV.